They called him the Beast, 666, prophet, poet, magician, madman. Aleister Crowley's life is not just a story, but that it's a descent into the occult, into power, into darkness, and what he summoned may still be with us today. This is the true story of the man who dared to open the veil and walk through it. Born Edward Alexander Crowley in 1875 to a strict Christian household steeped in the Plymouth Brethren sect, he was raised to fear God and worship duty with iron resolve. His mother called him the Beast whenever he misbehaved, a name he would later embrace as prophecy. Even as a child, he rebelled, not in tantrums but in chilling insight. He dissected frogs alive to watch them die. He wrote poems about murder. He lit candles in the dark and whispered prayers to Satan before he even knew the name of Lucifer. Crowley's early religious instruction was intense and literalist. He was taught that the world was fallen, that all desires were sins, and that only total submission to divine authority could save a soul. But the more he was told to fear his instincts, the more he began to worship them. His father's death when Crowley was 11, a man he revered, created a rupture that would never heal. His grief turned into rage. He began to test boundaries intellectually and spiritually. By his early 20s, he had shed his birth name and emerged as Aleister Crowley, a name he considered numerologically perfect, a magical invocation in itself. It sounded ancient, dangerous, powerful. He would say later that he was not choosing a name, but revealing the one he had always had. While studying at Cambridge, he became obsessed with forbidden knowledge, not just reading it, living it. He was particularly drawn to alchemy, Hermeticism, Kabbalah, and the poetry of decadence. He joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a secret society dedicated to ceremonial magic and metaphysical ascent. Among its members were W.B. Yeats and other notable thinkers, but Crowley quickly became a polarizing presence. He claimed to astrally project, invoke spirits, and enter trances where ancient languages filled his mind. Yeats would later call Crowley a wild beast, and during a heated internal schism attempted to block him from advanced rites. Crowley responded with magical curses. He began working with Enochian magic, language said to be dictated by angels to Dr. John Dee and Edward Kelly in the 16th century. Crowley claimed it wasn't angels he heard. It was something else, something that whispered from behind the veil, something ancient, something hungry. In 1904, Crowley and his wife Rose traveled to Cairo on their honeymoon. They rented a flat and posed as a prince and princess to gain access to sacred spaces. But the vacation quickly turned surreal. Rose began slipping into waking trances, speaking in a voice not her own, murmuring about a presence named Aiwass. She would sit in corners muttering, saying, "They're waiting. He's coming." Crowley, skeptical but intrigued, led her to the Cairo Museum of Antiquities and asked her to identify the presence. Without hesitation, she walked directly to the stele of the god Horus. Exhibit number 666. The image depicted Horus as Ra-Hur-Kuit, the warrior god of the new Aeon. Crowley was stunned. It matched visions he'd already recorded in his private journals. Over the course of 3 days, confined to their hotel room, Crowley claimed that Rose dictated a text from Aiwass, not from her mind, but from some external force. That text became the Book of the Law, the foundation of his new religion, Thelema. It declared, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." The text was cryptic, terrifying, and apocalyptic in tone. It spoke of a new age governed by force, will, and the shedding of old morality. It denounced Christ, mocked conventional piety, and proposed a universe where desire was the only compass. Crowley wrote, Every man and every woman is a star, but in private letters he hinted that some stars must burn others to rise. But some questioned whether the entity was truly divine. Others believed Aiwass was a darker intelligence, an interdimensional trickster, or even a demonic intelligence. After Cairo, Rose began to deteriorate mentally and emotionally. In later journals, Crowley wrote, "She has been unmoored, some part of her left behind in that room." Crowley would later establish the Abbey of Thelema in Cefalù, Sicily, a commune where initiates could shed societal norms and embrace pure will through sex, magic, ritual, and altered states. But what happened inside the abbey walls was far from divine. Eyewitnesses spoke of black masses performed under moonlight, sacred texts smeared with bodily fluids and screaming in the night. Leah Hersig, writing in her diary, described rituals where Crowley demanded total submission. "He told me to forget myself, to become a vessel. I vomited and bled, and he said it meant the goddess was pleased." The walls of the abbey were covered in paintings, not art, but invocations, demonic entities, phallic gods, and portals to other realms. Blood was used in the paint. Initiates were stripped of their names, their pasts, and their inhibitions. They were made to fast, fornicate, chant, hallucinate, and sometimes sacrifice. Raoul Loveday, a young English follower, died there after allegedly drinking the blood of a sacrificed cat during a ritual. His wife, Betty May, later said, "There was something inside that place. Something in the walls. It watched you. It whispered in the dark." Crowley was labeled the wickedest man in the world. He dismissed it all as prudish hysteria. But Italian authorities didn't agree. He was expelled from the country. The abbey was abandoned. Locals claimed it was cursed, a place where the earth itself refused to settle. Travelers reported dreams of faceless entities and red-eyed beasts when sleeping near its ruins. Some reported waking with scratches they did not remember receiving. Throughout his life, Crowley was surrounded by a series of women he called his Scarlet Women, sexual partners who acted as magical conduits for divine feminine power. He claimed they were oracles and incarnations of Babylon, the goddess of sacred chaos. But their fates were often tragic. Leah Hersig, one of his most devoted partners, lost her mind. Others vanished from public life, committed suicide, or died in poverty. Crowley's rituals often involved blood, menstrual, animal, or otherwise. He believed orgasm was a gateway to other dimensions. He practiced sex magic with both women and men, sometimes using pain, humiliation, and terror to heighten the mystical effect. In a letter to a fellow magician, he wrote, "In the moment of climax, I have seen angels disintegrate. What is left is not of this earth." He kept detailed journals of each working, documenting the names of spirits invoked, substances consumed, and sensations felt. Some of these journals read like portals themselves. Strange symbols, violent drawings, and indecipherable phrases. As Crowley aged, he became increasingly erratic. He burned through fortunes, friends, and followers. He was arrested, laughed at, mocked in newspapers, and reviled by the church. But his belief in his mission never wavered. He saw himself as a messiah of a new aeon, one that would destroy the old gods. In his final years, he lived in poverty, addicted to heroin, teeth rotting, body wasting away. Yet he continued to write. He corresponded with disciples across the world. He mentored Jack Parsons, a rocket scientist and occultist who would later work with L. Ron Hubbard to perform the Babylon Working, a ritual to summon the divine feminine. Crowley died in 1947 in Hastings, England. His last words were rumored to be, "I am perplexed." Others say he whispered the name of a spirit no one recognized. His funeral included a reading of Hymn to Pan, which horrified local attendees. One eyewitness said, "It wasn't a eulogy, it was an invocation." But his legacy, it only deepened. Today, Aleister Crowley's fingerprints can be found across modern occultism, chaos magic, pop culture, and conspiracy lore. His face appears on album covers. His words echo in secret societies. Celebrities quote him, often unknowingly. The Church of Satan, the Temple of Set, and Thelema itself trace their roots to his ideas, and perhaps the most unsettling question remains. What if he succeeded? What if he really did open a door, and something ancient, cunning, and malevolent walked through? Some say the energy around Crowley's rituals still lingers, that his sigils are portals and his books are keys, that if you look too closely, you might hear the whisper of Aiwass too. Thank you for watching Eighth House Sun. Subscribe for more true occult horror stories. And remember, magic once summoned does not sleep.